one of the best in the business with the ear to the ground of my compadre from the NFL Media Group at Rap Sheet. Join the many, many hundreds of thousands and millions to follow his knowledge. He's here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Ian Rapoport?
I'm good, Rich. I have never heard that clip before. Obviously, I'm a regular Rich Eisen Show listener. I'm just saying that particular clip I haven't heard.
Yes.
You know what was interesting to me?
Okay. What was that?
He never said no. Like, you went through the whole thing, and you're like, oh, what if Tom says, and he just says, oh, I'm chilling. He literally never said no. And I, of course, heard a million Gronk interviews during his 1-year hiatus. He never, ever quite said, I'm definitely not coming back if Tom asks. And I just never, until I got the word that he was going to be traded from the Patriots to the Bucs, I never really thought about it like that. But I think we all should have, because that was pretty telling.
Well, I mean, it was the July of 2019. We just played a clip for our Peacock audience, waiting for the radio audience to return. And, I just had fun saying, let's act out a phone call since you're, into acting right now. Because that's, that was when he was dancing with the Laker girls and he was just doing everything, just popping up everywhere, spiking a Lego version of Steve Harvey on a New Year's Eve Fox show, just being Gronk. And just say, hey, is it possible if you want to come back, role playing? And it did happen. And it's unbelievable, man. I mean, I talked about it yesterday, Ian. 2 touchdowns for him in the Super Bowl, and Brady doing it. Like the fact is, the question: well, how's Brady and Gronk going to do in this first year in Tampa? We asked. That was the number one question asked of me whenever I was on a Zoom with anybody or anybody was tweeting with me or whatever. And the fact that the answer is this is totally off the charts. How do you think this is playing out in Patriot land right now, today, Ian?
First of all, it was interesting to me, too, and I've read some stuff today. Sam Farmer had a really good article on Bruce Arians, and it reminded me that when Brady was, shopping for a team. Hold on, Jude.
I love it.
I'm on the Rich Eisen Show, buddy.
Way to parent, Ian. Yeah. Way to parent.
There you go. I mean,
that's amazing.
If I was on some low rent show, then I would say maybe. But I'm on the Rich Eisen Show.
Please tell your child to understand the gravity of the situation. Way to parent. Thank you.
This is what I'm saying. So whenever Brady would talk to teams, whether the Chargers or the Bucs or whoever, he would always say that he wanted Gronk to join him, and I don't know that they actually believed him. And the fact that it happened, and then Gronk scores 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl. Of course, it's the most obvious thing ever, but it's also surreal. I mean, Gronk is amazing, and obviously Brady is what he is. I would say, as far as the Patriots go, I don't get the sense that they're upset because they're in such different places. Brady is going for it. Every year with Brady, you are going for it. And I think New England, this was definitely a rebuilding year. Cam Newton obviously didn't work out, but they're trying to get the salary cap in place. They're trying to build again for the long term. And I just don't think their visions matched up in a way that I probably didn't realize 11 months ago.
So then this is a great way to turn to the quarterback carousel that is spinning. What is New England's plan to acquire their next quarterback? Is it Jarrett Stidham? Is it the guy that they decided to place to the side to see how Cam would do in the first non-Brady year? What is their plan? They were kicking the tires on Stafford, didn't obviously work out. What is their plan right now?
Yeah, and they were definitely in on Stafford, but I think they knew that. I saw the headline from Tom Curran, who I love, and I don't think he's wrong. I got the sense that it was more Stafford wanted McVay and wanted L.A. more than he didn't want anywhere else. The Panthers had a really, really good offer too, and they were never getting it because I think the Lions tried to do right by Stafford. But as far as New England goes, I mean, they're going to be in on all the quarterbacks. Not Carson Wentz, but some of the other quarterbacks. If Derek Carr is available, if Marcus Mariota is available, if Deshaun Watson is available, if Jimmy Garoppolo is available. I think they're going to be, if Jameis Winston potentially doesn't go to the Saints, I would imagine they'd have some interest there. They're just, I would think they're going to be in on every single one. And try to do this all over again. I'm just not sure which one they're going to end up with, but they're going to try.
And then, of course, there's the draft. But for the moment, though, we can hit that from new league year all the way to draft night in April. For the time being, though, let's dig into everything on the quarterback front. Ian Rapoport here on the Rich Eisen Show. What is the scoop with Carson Wentz as you and I converse right now, Ian?
Well, he is still currently a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. And, I don't mean to sound like Sean McVay when he said, Les Snead when he said Jared Goff is our quarterback right now, whatever.
For the moment, right.
Les is the greatest, but that was the biggest tell of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So he's still a member of the Eagles. Could he return? Anything is possible. I would not say it's likely at all, but possible. I don't get the sense anything is imminent. The Colts have had interest. The Bears have had interest. Maybe a couple other teams have had calls, but to me, it's mostly those two. And I know there was a lot of momentum, like on Friday and then maybe kind of Saturday. I was like, all right, maybe this could happen soon. But then you get through Saturday, it doesn't happen. You get through the Super Bowl, it doesn't happen. It didn't happen yesterday. And this is just kind of my read on the situation. It's almost like everyone took a deep breath and were like, all right, hang on. Like, why are we hurrying? And it felt like everyone kind of went back to their own corners and like, let's figure out what we would give up, what we want to do, and kind of what we want for the future.
Right. So what does a trade look like? Because we saw what a trade looked like for Stafford because it involved Goff and his equally hefty contract. And Goff went, obviously, to Detroit in a trade. So no quarterback's going to be coming back to Philadelphia, right? I mean, because it's going to be Hurts, or if they want to draft another one, they can. So what is the construct that you're hearing about for a deal potentially for Wentz? What does it look like?
I mean, if the Bears need to shed salary, they could also trade Foles. I don't know if that would be the craziest thing in the world. So I wouldn't be totally surprised to see that. But, the Stafford-Goff deal is really a problem because usually, one trade sets the precedent for another trade, right? So Laramie Tunsil goes for 2 first-rounders, and then Jalen Ramsey goes for 2 first-rounders, and then Jamal Adams goes for 2 first-rounders. Usually, those were sort of apples to apples. You can compare. That makes sense. The Jared Goff contract really makes it extremely difficult to compare because, of course, Howie Roseman would want 2 1s. Well, if the Lions got 2 1s, why shouldn't I have 2 1s? But they're 2 future ones, and they had to take on Jared Goff's contract. Was not a good point of comparison. I mean, I think they'll be able to get a first-rounder. That would be very good, considering the way Carson played. I just don't know what levels of more they're going to be able to get.
Ian Rapoport here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, let's get to Deshaun Watson in Houston. He clearly wants out. And the Texans are what? Like their plan is to dig in and eventually he'll return David Culley's call, or eventually they'll get him in a room and they'll take their shot there and then figure out what the next step is. Hopefully they don't need a next step because Watson will say, I love this guy and I don't care about however I felt about management or, Jack Easterby, whose Catskills routine made it on Twitter and YouTube quite a bit over the last week.
Saw that.
So, is that their plan? Is that their plan for Deshaun Watson right now?
They are trying very hard to get Deshaun back, to bring him back, to reel him back in, just trying to get him to talk. It hasn't happened yet, but they are trying. David Culley is trying, I know that. The real problem here, Rich, is that David Culley did nothing to Deshaun Watson. Nick Caserio also did nothing to Deshaun Watson. The way Nick Caserio was hired is a problem, but he didn't do anything wrong, and I don't get the sense Deshaun Watson has any animosity at all to Nick Caserio. So everything they are trying to do, in a weird way, doesn't matter because they didn't do anything to him. So it's not like they need to apologize or something like that because they did nothing wrong. It's about the owner and management, and how do you fix that? I mean, and I don't get the sense Deshaun is changing either. He's still extremely upset. I don't know how it ends. I just don't see any end in sight.
Well, I mean, the end is for the Houston Texans is they either, there's three options. They hope the first one is that Watson talks to Culley and says, boy, I love this guy. I believe in him. I'm going to buy what he's selling, and it doesn't matter anything else that's unchanged that caused me to demand the trade. That's the best case scenario. And the other two scenarios are that they force him to hold out, take his money. Or three, they trade him. That's it. Or they force him to hold out and then don't take his money, sort of what Jerry did to Zeke, and then pay him and then give him what he wants. The problem is what he wants is something, I guess, would be the sale of the team. To me, it's just it makes no sense when you saw what they were able to acquire, what the Lions were able to acquire, and I understand that was financial because of the size of the contract they took on. Mm-hmm. But that could be an apple to apple, basically saying, hey, the Lions technically did get 2 firsts for a 3-year-old quarterback. Deshaun Watson, they could get the Jets' entire draft first round haul for the next 3 years and maybe demand Darnold on top of it and get a kid who's 23 with 2 years contractual control. I mean, after a while, the writing is on the wall, and a better future, than making your superstar beloved athlete hold out on you. Yeah. That there's got to be a better option, right? That's to me, and that to me seems inevitable. I don't know. You tell me.
You did a great job of explaining why this is an impossible situation. You really did, because someone involved has a major problem with every scenario. You just there's not one where it's okay, fine, this actually makes sense for both sides. In all those scenarios, someone has a huge, huge problem and wants to do everything to stop it from happening. And so, as far as the trade haul, I mean, it's going to be as big as we've ever seen. And I honestly don't know, the Jets could do it if he would want to go there.
Right.
I'm not sure who else. I mean, the Dolphins could, and that would probably make some sense, but then they have Tua issues if they even would do it, which I don't know that they would. But there's not a lot of teams that can just do it because, a first rounder this year, a first rounder next year, okay, a first rounder the year after, but that's so far into the future. We don't know anything about that. So is it all right, 2 full draft boards for 2 years? Is it 2 first rounders and many, many really good young cheap players? It's hard for me to count that high as far as a possible trade, especially when I know that Nick Cassidy doesn't want to do it. It's impossible.
Ian Rapoport here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's get into Russell Wilson. You saw what your colleague and your predecessor at NFL Network, Jason Lockenfor, tweeted out about the number of sacks that Russell Wilson's taken, and his team has grown increasingly frustrated. Your first report on Super Sunday, Ian, on NFL Game Day morning was the fact that people are calling the Seahawks asking for Russell Wilson to see if he's available and being told to pound sand they're not interested. But we all know, why would anybody call for a 32-year-old quarterback coming off of the best year that he's had statistically in quite some time, despite what might be going on, unless there's something going on? And there's always been rumors about it not being all copacetic there. What is going on with Russell and the Seahawks?
I would say, here's my read on the situation. So, last year the offense didn't work very well at all, right? I think that's pretty obvious, especially at the end of the year. Then they they ended up hiring an offensive coordinator, and Russell Wilson was involved in that. But I think, there were some moments where I think he was frustrated with some of the candidates being considered. And in the end, they ended up consulting with him, and he had a huge role in the actual hire. But when teams see a run-first offense, a run-first coach, the offense is not working, they start to wonder if the quarterback is upset, and they start calling, or they start talking. Because I think some of them were in person, but they start talking. And I didn't get the sense the Seahawks at all want anything to be done, but there's some stuff there. And, Deshaun Watson is not the only franchise quarterback who'd like to have some conversations. So, does he get traded? I don't know, but probably not. However, because of the atmosphere in the NFL right now, basically everyone calls in every quarterback. So I don't know. I mean, I've seen crazier things.
So let's throw everybody into the mix here. Carr and Matt Ryan and I'm sure leaving some name, Jimmy G. Who crystal ball it for me in my final ask for you here on this situation. Who does move? Who do you think by the end of the day does get moved that was, I guess, a week one starter for their team last year or a bulk of the season starter for their team last year at quarterback?
I hope you don't mean by the end of today.
No.
Because my lovely wife is out and she has a hair appointment and I have to watch the boys. So if there is a trade, that'd be very problematic for me.
Hey, look, we already heard Jude's on the loose, man. So whatever defense you're running, you're in the cover one, right? Or you're cover two, right? You're a man short.
Oh my God.
So what's going on there? So my best to you.
Jude asked for something. It could have been a snack. It could have been to play ABC on the computer. I said yes. I have no earthly idea what he asked for.
Again, like I said, excellent parenting skills. Outstanding. I guess by the end of the figurative day, not the end of today, but by the end of the figurative day, which quarterback do you think gets moved or quarterbacks?
Okay, so I think Carson probably gets moved somewhere.
Okay.
I don't get the sense Derek Carr, teams are calling. I don't get the sense Derek Carr does, but Mariota could get traded. That's actually kind of a really interesting option because he played so well when he played.
He did.
It'd be hilarious if he's this year's Ryan Tannehill after Ryan Tannehill became Ryan Tannehill by bouncing him. That would be something ironic there. I think those are probably the two best bets. And, Darnold, I think it's very possible, but I don't know 100% to say he's definitely going to be traded. I just know there's a lot of interest, and obviously they could pick a quarterback at number 2. They just have to make sure that there's someone they value there before trading him.
Ian, thanks for the time. Go be a parent now. Best to you and the rest of your day. Bless you, sir. Thanks for the call.
Thanks for having me.
It's Ian Rapoport. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.